The idea of Munich, obviously it's quite a long time ago now. I wrote that when I wrote the chorus, the lyric to the chorus, still King's Heath, in the house that we moved into Birmingham after university. And it was after a particularly long night, shall we say. So the people are fragile things was a response to the way I was feeling the following morning. So I'm feeling sorry for myself after overindulgence. I mean, such an important part of Munich is the interplay between the vocal melody, which obviously is what I was doing, and then Chris's guitar line, which a lot of, many of the songs off the back room, those two things, the way they interact, is what made the band to start with. Yeah, just one of those melodies that Chris just had a real habit of coming up with back then. When you find yourself you get yourself in kind of creative good spots, in a good patch, and he certainly was there with kind of coming up with these little bouncy guitar lines with his certain style of playing. I guess complemented my deep voice. I'm so glad I found this. The recording in Munich was done, let me think, it was done with Jim Abbis, who produced pretty much all of the back room. But it was done before we did the main bulk of that session, which we did most of that album in a place called the Chapel in Lincoln. But we did Munich early as just to see if we could work with Jim, and it was done super last minute in that, I think, in that gap between Christmas and New Year, where people don't normally work. I remember Russell always goes away at Christmas with his parents, and he had to cancel his trip to somewhere in the sun that he was going because we had this exciting studio session booked in with Jim Abbis. 2 days in a studio in Primrose Hill, which is no longer there, called Mayfair. I remember going in there, seeing Tina Turner discs on the wall, and I think there's Coldplay discs on the wall, and it was all very exciting. It was our first, we'd recorded before, but not with a named producer, so it was very exciting. When the band kind of first got going, it was Bullets that was the song that was first on the radio. If my memory is right, the next thing we followed that with was Munich. But Munich, with radio, they didn't take to it straight away. It was like, oh, this is fine. We got a bit of play, but it didn't feel like it was anywhere near as significant as Bullets. So it wasn't like disappointment. Of course, it was still, we were touring like small venues in a splitter van, and it was the second song we had out there, so that was, people knew the words to that and Bullets at the shows at the time, so it was still a big song for us. But it wasn't until we re-released it, however many months later, that suddenly the radio really picked up on it, and it became this, the biggest song for us at the time, and probably our defining song from that era. Be careful what you put them through. This was the second video we'd made. The first one for Bullets was great, and it got on MTV2, but it was a very, very, very low budget thing. This was the first time we'd worked with, they were called the Soup Collective. They still are called the Soup Collective. They've done a lot of things with Elbow, they do a lot of things with Elbow still. So for us to work with them was like, Elbow are a band that we bonded over when we were forming Editors, so to work with people that had worked with Elbow was a big thing. I just remember being in this, what felt enormous kind of hangar in near Acton. Again, it was winter time, it wouldn't have been long after that recording session or over Christmas time, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing. It was just that thing of the first time having to do kind of performance over and over and over again with more intensity, and it's just very, very alien to start with. I remember we had a couple of extras. There was like this guy in kind of sports gear on a treadmill. There was a woman. Was she throwing a ball around? It was all very black and white, very moody, obviously, and yeah, very exciting.